the velvet tent still stood.
In the heart of the crimson tent, amidst the silence, a single drop of the
A private world of silk, silver, and the perfumes of Babylon. It was the untouched sanctuary of the great king, Darius III. Outside, 100,000 men lay broken, scattered across the narrow plain. Darius himself had escaped, fleeing the field in a panic, stripped of his crown. But he left behind the ultimate prize: his mother, his wife, his daughters. This was not merely a victory of cavalry and steel. It was a psychological weapon, demonstrating a power so total it unmade empires. The weight of Persia, centuries of power, rested on this single artifact. And now, a conquest, written not in blood, but in terror. His name was Alexander, King of Macedon. He was a commander defined by impossible ambition and surgical violence. His theater of war was the world. A campaign launched against the entirety of the vast Persian Empire. His ambition was total conquest, transforming a Greek coalition into a global power. He sought not merely to win battles, but to shatter the very mechanisms of empire.
Issus would be the testing ground for this lethal ambition.
The initial victory at Granicus was a skirmish. This was the direct confrontation. He was the protagonist of conquest, marching into the unknown heart of the enemy.
The year was 333 BCE, and the stage was set at the gates of Cilicia.
This was the bottleneck of the Near East. A narrow, flat stretch of ground known as the Plain of Issus.
The arena was compressed, squeezed between the steep, impassable slopes of the Amanus Mountains and the shoreline of the Mediterranean Sea.
Darius III, the great king of Persia, chose this spot to trap the upstart Macedonian. His army was massive, estimated at 3 times the size of Alexander's modest force. Darius was certain his sheer numbers would crush the Greeks. He maneuvered behind Alexander, cutting off his supply lines and forcing a reversal. He believed he had gained a critical positional advantage, isolating his enemy for destruction. He failed to understand the lethal physics of the battlefield he had selected. The theater of war, instead of serving Darius, had become the Macedonians' greatest weapon.
The plain was a funnel, negating the Persian advantage.
It forced Darius to compress his massive arm into a chaotic, unmanageable block.
Alexander's veteran army was disciplined, compact, and perfectly suited to fighting in close quarters. The great size of the Persian force was now only a great, vulnerable target. Alexander was a commander class, the conqueror. His entire military was an instrument of rapid,
decisive warfare, not attrition.
His primary weapon was the Macedonian phalanx, a hedgehog of interlocking 5-meter sarissa pikes.
Its discipline and sheer weight locked the vast Persian infantry in a brutal, stationary struggle.
They became the fortress, the immovable block against which Darius's center would break its momentum.
The secondary weapon was the hetairoi, the companion cavalry. These heavy-armored shock troops were the hammer, Alexander's personal instrument of power.
They were an elite unit, honed for rapid deployment, high-speed impact, and surgical breakthroughs.
Alexander led them from the right flank, the only area with room to maneuver and gain speed.
Phalanx holds the line. The cavalry delivers the fatal, unexpected blow.
They were an elite unit, honed for rapid deployment, high-speed impact, and surgical breakthroughs.
The critical moment unfolded as the two armies crashed together on the narrow plain.
The Persian center drove against the Macedonian phalanx.
The phalanx held fast, a terrifying wall of steel, absorbing the chaos and the weight of the assault.
It was a doctrine of war designed to nullify the enemy's numbers and exploit the landscape's weaknesses.
The Persian cavalry there was quickly overwhelmed, their position compromised by the tight terrain.
The weight of the hetairoi charge was an unstoppable force. Once the flank broke, every instinct screamed for the Macedonian cavalry to chase the routing enemy off the field. This was the crucible moment, the decision that would define the entire battle and campaign. He screamed, "Forget the routing! Abandon the chase! Turn and follow me!" The companion cavalry executed a sharp, near 90-degree turn, changing their entire axis of attack. They were now charging directly across the Persian rear, heading for the central command.
It was a strike of genius, recognizing that the true objective was not the army, but the commander.
Alexander ignored the fleeing enemy and issued a breathtaking, pivotal command.
The psychological effect of Alexander appearing at the rear of their command was devastating.
The Persian rear was held by the king's immortals, the elite royal bodyguard.
They were prepared for a frontal engagement, not an attack from the flank.
They were now charging directly across the Persian rear, heading for the central command.
The unexpected nature of the assault caused immediate panic and disorder in the Persian ranks.
The river that ran through the plain turned red with the blood of the king's guard.
Darius III, watching the slaughter of his finest troops and the terrifying approach of Alexander, broke.
He saw the king of Macedon, spear in hand, cutting through his retinue.
In a moment of pure, blinding fear, Darius abandoned his chariot and fled the field on horseback.
This act of cowardice, the great king running from the field of battle, was the signal.
The entire Persian army, seeing their commander flee, instantly dissolved into chaos and rout.
The mad tactic had worked. The enemy's spirit was broken by the pursuit of one man. The immediate consequence of Issus was utter humiliation for the King of Kings.
Darius III fled so quickly, he abandoned his family in the royal encampment.
Captives of Alexander.
He also left his entire treasury, an incredible hoard of gold, silver, and precious royal artifacts.
The wealth was enormous, but the psychological blow was irreparable.
This act of cowardice, the great king running from the field of battle, was the signal.
Alexander treated the royal captives with surprising, unprecedented respect.
This strategic kindness was not mercy. It was a political maneuver.
The victory had shattered the Persian front in Anatolia and opened the path to Egypt and Babylon. It demonstrated that tactics, not numbers, win the final campaigns. Alexander's genius was not just in his cavalry charge, but in his ruthless recognition of the terrain's potential. The victory at Issus was a masterpiece of geography, patience, and calculated violence.
It demonstrated that tactics, not numbers, win the final campaigns.
Alexander's genius was not just in his cavalry charge, but in his ruthless recognition of the terrain's potential.
Point an enemy of this magnitude.
His campaign had become an unstoppable martial avalanche. Whose conquest chronicle should we reconstruct next? Nominate a new commander in the comments.